All right, let's see what this one is about. Files not opening in Teams. Hello, I recently came across a ticket where the user could not access their files in Teams, denied permission. It says here, I did verify that they indeed were the owner of the files. The issue had started the day before. Before that, they had no problems accessing their files. This issue was present in both desktop app and Office 365 through Google Chrome and Edge browser. I could gain access to the files through the app after cleaning the Teams cache. However, I could not access the files from the 0635 using Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. I even removed all history and cache from the browsers with no success. Any ideas on what I should try next? I can tell Vincent is really good actually at troubleshooting. He's going through all the troubleshooting steps, which is great. And the user not able to access file using Teams app or Team Office 365, and then he says as a first step he verified user was the owner of the files. That's great. That's what I would do. Remove remote into user computer, successfully established connection. Good. Verify the user concern in issue, successfully able to reproduce the issue. And that's very important actually, because sometimes you get a misunderstanding of what a user is talking about. So it's good to verify that by taking control. In this case, Vincent was able to probably remote into the user's computer and take control and visually see what's going on. Signed the user out of Teams and cleared Teams cache. Success, the user was able to access Teams files. So that worked, I guess. Cleared all the history and cache from the Google Chrome and Edge browser. Unsuccessful user not able to access Teams files from the Office 365. So let me just see what this here is again. Signed the user out of Teams and cleared Teams cache. Okay, success. The user was able to access Team files. Okay, so I'm assuming the issue came back at some point. So what I would actually look into, and I would still concentrate on the restrictions in the sense of the access issue, and just because user it's just because the files are users, meaning they're not shared files or anything like that. That means that it's the files that belong to the user, and whenever user creates new files, the ownership is automatically assigned to them, and there's really nothing else that can be done to remove that access, unless there's some kind of a access issue in the sense where maybe their login expired and their access credentials are not replicating at a local level. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me just go ahead and start typing. And I'm going to say, I've talked to Vincent before, so I don't have to introduce myself. I'm going to say, I would also check on the user's access in the sense that their password might be expired, maybe the recently updated credentials are not replicating. So let's see, how can I explain this? So sometimes you would change, for example, a password, right? And it wouldn't reflect everywhere, meaning it hasn't updated everywhere. So this is the reason I'm saying this, is because it shows here that you've signed the user out of Teams and cleared the Teams cache. The cache or whatever you call it, is basically a temporary data that holds on to the things that you've done before. So what is that? Well, it could be the browsing data, it could be your credentials data, meaning your user login ID and password. You know how sometimes when you put in that information, it asks you, do you want to remember? And you can have it so that it's remembered in form of cache. Now, if this has changed, if the access has changed, whether their password, for example, here is expired and they haven't changed it, that could be causing it too. And it could be that maybe they've recently updated their credentials and are not replicating locally, meaning that you may have changed the password, like on the website itself as well, but it's not replicating everywhere else. And I know you mentioned that this happens, whether it's a web version or the app version of Office 365. And that just makes me think that there's something else going on. Maybe the user is getting locked out. Maybe the user is getting locked out. Maybe the user is getting locked out periodically due to using old credentials somewhere else. Oh, I apologize. I'm terrible at spelling today. So the way this can happen is that if you are using another computer, for example, and that old computer has your old credentials and you're still logged into that computer, that means that those credentials are still being used, even if you're not using the computer. For example, let's say you're logged in into Office 365 on that remote computer using the old credentials, or there is some kind of a automated software that allows you to log into these systems automatically by using your login ID password. And it might be associated with the domain credentials as well. So I would concentrate on that. I don't think, let me just double check here. The issue is present on both desktop app and Office 365 through Google Chrome and Edge browser. So it's not a local issue. And the indicator of that is not only checking the desktop app, but you've checked the web version through Google Chrome and Edge browser. Why is that important? Is because Google uses its own cache and the Edge uses its own cache. So you've immediately eliminated the possibility of it being a local issue. So the issue is most likely with some kind of an access issue, even if the user has, it's just a really bizarre one, but even if the user has full access to it, I would still double check with the user to see if there's something else related somehow in regards to things that I've talked about. I'm going to say please let me know if that helps. Sorry, this one was a bit vague. Yeah, this one, the explanation to this was a bit vague, and I apologize for that. It's just that Vincent has already done a lot of troubleshooting here, and there really wasn't much for me to talk about aside from kind of guessing like further of what else it could be,